Are you getting enough protein in your diet? Hey, I'm Lindsey Cortez, female athlete nutrition, sports dietitian specialist. Protein is such a hot topic and super important. So, we do need protein. We should be focusing on it for strength, for recovery, for health, for body composition, for performance. And I think it's just a huge question is like, how much protein do we need? And how do we know if we're getting enough? What are the best sources? So many questions. Today, I first just want to help you figure out, are you getting enough protein? And I'm going to go over 5 ways you can figure out if you are getting enough protein in your diet. So, the first step to know if you're getting enough protein in your diet is even just knowing your protein sources. Duh. How do you know if you're getting enough if you don't even know where protein is coming from? So I think this is basic. We'll go over it real quick. You get protein from animal sources like meat and dairy. So cheese, milk, yogurt, dairy yogurt, because plant-based yogurts may or may not have protein. So dairy-based yogurt, dairy-based milk, cheese, and meat. Chicken, beef, fish, shellfish, game, all the meat. But there are also plant-based sources of protein, and this is super important to know that you don't have to eat meat to get protein, or maybe you do still have meat in your diet, but know that you're getting protein from other sources as well. Nuts and seeds and all the things that nuts and seeds make. So nuts and seeds are in peanut butter, almond butter. They're built into granolas and nut and seed bars. You can sprinkle flaxseed into your yogurt or hemp seed into your salad. Nuts and seeds are great plant-based protein. Soy, which turns into a bunch of products, right? So soy, soybeans, soy milk, soy yogurt, tofu, tempeh, all those soy products. Peas are a source of protein, like some vegetables you didn't even think of, but I say peas specifically because that's where they come up with pea protein powder. So many of your plant-based protein powders have pea in them, or that sounds weird, have pea in them, but peas make up the protein in plant-based protein powders. Soy protein powders would be a plant-based protein powder. Sorry to backtrack, but the animal protein there, most of your whey protein powder, whey comes from dairy. There's also casein that comes from dairy. So that's why it's a great source of protein because it's coming from an animal source. Oh gosh. Okay. Back to the plant-based proteins here. You'd be surprised, like our brown rice, our quinoa, our whole grains sprinkle some protein into our diet. So there's a lot more sources, but first you need to figure out, like, am I eating these high protein foods? So the first way to know if you're getting enough protein in your diet is, are you choosing protein foods? And that's really my second step to assess if you're getting enough protein is, are you choosing protein food that every meal of the day? So how can you expect to reach your protein goal by the end of the day if your lunch was just straight pasta with no protein source in it? It's like, it's maybe you're eating 100 grams of protein all at dinner, but it's unlikely. The best way to know if you're reaching your protein goal by the end of the day is to analyze if you're reaching your protein, just having a source of protein all throughout the day. So visually look at your meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Is there a visual, obvious source of protein on your plate? If not, start working on it. Now, with your snacks, I strongly encourage that protein also be a known ingredient that you can identify. Like, yes, I had protein at my snack. So I had apple and almonds. Okay, almonds had some protein. Or my snack was a smoothie made with Greek yogurt. Okay, that was the protein in there. Something that you can understand, like, this is a protein source at my snacks. The only exception would be probably pre-workout. You don't necessarily need that protein in there. So that's the second way to know, am I getting enough protein, is, am I having an obvious source at every meal? And is it at most of my snacks as well? Because now we're at least getting it frequently throughout the day and it's adding up. Okay, those first 2 ways to know if you're getting enough protein are very basic, but believe it or not, some people aren't doing that. So do those first. But if you're still questioning, I don't know if I'm really getting enough, well, we can get down to the details by actually calculating. So that's tip number 3 to know if you're getting enough protein, is to actually calculate your needs. So we're going to go off of sports nutrition guidelines, which do use your body weight to calculate. If you don't know your body weight, you don't want to step on a scale, you're not comfortable with that, don't do it. Just estimate, because we're just trying to get in the ballpark anyways. Nutrition doesn't have to be super specific. Even if you know your exact weight and you get a specific number for how much protein you're going to eat, let's say it's 120 grams, it's not like you can perfectly eat 120 grams every day, nor should you. You're supposed to have a range. So I guess what I'm trying to say, if you don't know your exact weight, that's okay, because we're going to be plus or minus 10 grams either direction, and we're going to land in the ballpark of getting enough. Okay, so what are the guidelines? Well, the average guideline, or RDA, for most Americans is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. I don't recommend this for basically anybody, but that's like minimum standard for somewhat okay health. But we're not looking for that. We're looking for optimal health and optimized performance and optimized recovery and strength and muscle mass. So we go higher. Sports nutrition guidelines set by the ISSN, International Society for Sports Nutrition, recommends a range of 1.4 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. Okay, so take your body weight in pounds, divide that by 2.2. That's your kilograms for all my US friends that just like minds shut down when we start talking in kilogram. Okay, so once you get your kilogram number, now anywhere in that range, if you're an endurance athlete, you obviously have higher needs for carbohydrates to fuel endurance. So the protein recommendation is still higher, but it's more like 1 to 1.6 grams per kilogram. And then if you're a strength athlete, it's higher, so 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram. Most of us honestly fall somewhere in between, or you're stop and go sport athlete, hybrid athlete. And so that's somewhere in the middle of those two, 1.4 to 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram of your body. Okay, so I'm going to pick a number kind of in the middle there, 1.6 grams per kilogram, and we'll do some. Okay, if you weigh 120 pounds times 1.6 grams per kilogram, that's 87 grams of protein a day. I would just round that up to 90 grams. If you are 160 pounds times 1.6 grams per kilogram, that's 116 grams of protein, 116. If you are 200 pounds times 1.6 grams per kilogram, that's 145 grams of protein. So yeah, we had a range of like 90 to 145 grams simply based on body size, but your sport and needs really play a role here. And so we can even take that athlete, that 160-pound athlete, and say that they are strength and power and they do need a bit more protein. So we'll put them at like 2 grams protein per kilogram of body weight. And that's 145 grams of protein, which is similar to that example of the 200-pound person, right? Okay, but I'm just throwing these numbers out there to give you some sort of range, like that those numbers were between 90 to 145. So if somebody is out there eating 200 grams of protein, like I'm kind of a little red flag, like, whoa, what's going on there? Because that seems like a lot. Also, if somebody's only eating like 60 grams of protein, that's another red flag for me. That's not enough. So this is step number 3, is just to calculate to understand your ballpark needs. And you can do a ballpark estimation to see if you're getting there just by simply bringing some attention to labels and just some basic nutrition knowledge. So what do I mean by that? Maybe you know that post-workout you grabbed a protein shake that had 25 grams of protein. Great. And maybe you kind of generally know that a chicken breast is around 25 grams of protein and you had that at dinner. Well, you're at 50 grams already. And then maybe you know that your snack, you had a Greek yogurt cup that had 14 grams. You're up to 65. Maybe you always have eggs for breakfast. So you just look up like how much protein is in eggs and cheese. And so you learn that, yeah, my usual breakfast with, 2 eggs and cheese and some turkey sausage and some whole grain toast. Wow, I've actually got 20 grams of protein there as well. So now we're up to 85 with your breakfast. And just all of that. So I'm not saying that you're reaching your goal necessarily, but some basic nutrition, some basic math that isn't obsessing and overanalyzing. You're like, oh yeah, with those obvious protein sources I had in my day, I'm already at 85 grams. But you know what? I did sprinkle some almonds on my salad. And oh yeah, I did have those energy bites that were made with peanut butter. And you know that, okay, I'm probably up near 100 grams, by the end of the day. So you're starting to make those estimations just by bringing, like, knowing what your ballpark number of grams of protein that you're shooting for is, and then like kind of bringing attention to some labels without obsessing and just bringing awareness. Okay, but the fourth way you can know if you are getting enough protein is to actually track. So going one step further is to go ahead and have a nutrition tracking app, which I have opinions about whether this is good or bad. But one of the good things about nutrition tracking apps is just to educate yourself and learn. So it shouldn't be to be hard on yourself or to restrict yourself. It should be to learn. And this is an exact scenario. If you figure out, okay, my protein needs are 130 grams a day, use an app, track your food just for a few days. Are you reaching 130 grams? And if you're not, try and figure out why. Like maybe one day you hit 130 and the other day you were only at 105. It's like, whoa, what happened that day? Oh, yeah, I skipped lunch. So that's a pretty obvious fix, right? It's not like, oh my gosh, I need to figure out how to get more protein in my diet. It's like, no, I just need to be more consistent with lunch and I'll get there. Or maybe you need 130 grams and 3 days in a row, you're eating all your meals and snacks and you're still only reaching 100 grams. Okay, now let's think of a creative way to add 30 grams of protein a day. Is it adding a mid-morning snack? Is it incorporating a higher protein breakfast? Is it adding a protein supplement somewhere in your day? Is it, there's so many creative ways. Is it coming up with better recipes for dinner that focus on the protein? So I think by tracking, you can figure out not just are you getting enough protein, but maybe why you're not. There's also the flip side. Are you eating too much? And I don't say this because I don't want people to be scared of eating too much, nor to be scared of eating too much protein, but more so, is there something else you're not getting? So when I work with female athletes, I do see this a lot where people are exceeding their protein goals, but under meeting their carbohydrate goals, sometimes even under meeting their fat goals. And so the whole point here is it's not that it's bad that they're eating too much protein. It's just that it would be better if they ate enough carbs and fat. But if they're like too full from eating all that protein, then it's like, okay, you know what? We could bring the protein down in order to get our carbs and fats up. I hope that makes sense. So don't stress. It's not bad to eat too much protein, but you want to make sure that you're balanced with what you need, right? Okay, the fifth and final way to figure out if you're eating enough protein is how you feel. A little bit of a woo-woo answer here, but you can do your calculations and figure out, oh, I need 130 grams of protein a day. But if you feel exhausted, under-recovered, sore, maybe you do need more protein. Or maybe you do your calculation, it says you need 130 grams of protein a day, and you feel stuffed, weighed down, you're getting stomach aches. Like maybe you don't, right? So you need to go off of how you feel and test it out a little bit. We don't want to do too much trial and error to where we're compromising like performance, especially if you're in season or during competition season or a pro sponsored athlete. Obviously, hopefully you're working with a dietitian. If not, you can reach out, but be in tune with your body is what I'm trying to say. Do what works for you. I can't tell you how many times I've done calculations on clients and on myself, and I'm just like, nah, this doesn't work. And that's why this is like the art of nutrition, not the science of nutrition. So many times. And I love that I've been able to not just see that in my clients, but use myself as a guinea pig in this. Protein less so. This happens a lot with carbohydrates. So I follow somebody's carb recommendations and I'm just like, I'm starving. That's not enough food for me. So trust your body and your symptoms and how you're feeling and how you're performing and what you are craving. Your body knows best. I hope that was helpful. Those are your 5 tips. Let's recap them. Understand what protein sources even are and just identify if you're getting protein in your day. 2, make sure you're getting a source of protein at every meal and every snack that you can identify, that you can visually see. So you can call out in your meal. There's a protein, there's a carb, there's some fruit and veg, there's a fat. Step 3 is to calculate your needs. I gave you the ISSN guidelines for protein for athletes. And once you know your number, just start bringing general awareness, just kind of looking at labels, very nonchalant, and just observe if you think you're in the ballpark. Step 4 would be to track more seriously for a couple of days to see how you can reach that goal or why you're falling short. And step 5 is to always listen to your body and how it feels after eating enough protein or not eating enough and figure out what really works for you. Like, follow, subscribe, share this with a friend. Check out the resources in the notes in the comment section and head to lindseycortez.com for more information or to work together.